Hi everybody, this is Eric Johnson. Lately, I got some information that just blew my mind. It was sent to me by my advisor, and he had some information that I thought was just amazing. It's about Jack Stoof. It's about Jack Stoof, and it's about something Jack Stoof may or may not have done. I don't know where this information came from, but I know that this information to me is absolutely fascinating. This was a text message I was sent. Before I go any further, I want to remind everybody of something that I noticed, and I talked about it in previous videos. Something that happened when Forrest Fenn announced the find of the treasure. Of course, at that time, we didn't know it was Jack Stoof. We only knew that the treasure had been found on June 6th. I guess it was announced on June 6th. Maybe it had been the 4th or the 5th. But this is something that people told me who were in contact with Fenn at the time, and I talked about it in a previous video. They said something happened to Fenn when it came to communication. In the case of one person, he said Fenn completely cut him off. In the case, and he knew someone else that had been cut off. In the case of a Colorado searcher, she said Fenn became, for want of a better word, kind of paranoid, defensive. He started hedging what he said. Oh, I better not mention that or talk about that, those kind of little things. He kept communicating with her, but she said he got suddenly very careful about what he was saying. People think Fenn was hacked. A lot of different people in this chase think they were hacked. For someone that had been in the IT business for more than 10 years, you would have thought I would have taken this a lot more seriously, but I didn't. Never really had to deal with people being hacked, though. I've known people that said they were hackers, claimed to be hackers. But what happened in this case is extremely disturbing to me, because I think for someone like Fenn, who was very old, was on the internet, was perhaps a little naive, and perhaps fell for a very simple hack. It probably would have been devastating emotionally, logically. What am I talking about? I'm talking about a rat virus. I'm talking about a remote access Trojan virus. I'm talking about something that could be sent to Fenn, piggybacking on an email, for instance, something that someone might send to him and say, open this, take a look, boom, they have remote access control of Fenn's computer. Fenn probably would never have been the wiser. I don't know what his security was like with his computer. I don't know if he had anybody really keeping track of stuff like that, but we do know that Fenn was terrible when it came to talking, and often through emails with his searcher family. So this is something that was sent to me. It makes sense as far as the, quote, paranoia that Fenn seemed to experience about the time the treasure was found. Certainly it would explain his sudden death, if in fact he did die of stress or just a sense of despondency at his very old age. I've talked about broken heart syndrome, which is where your heart can literally change if it's put under enough stress or depression, and you can die of a seeming heart attack when it's not an actual heart attack where the blood has been cut off. That having been said, it would explain the fact that at first Fenn didn't. Well, let's remember, Fenn never really embraced Jack Stoof. That is a legend that Jack Stoof created after the fact, remember? Remember in the beginning, when Fenn was alive, he never congratulated Stoof or anything. Neither did his family. And then all of a sudden, after Fenn died, Stoof comes out of nowhere and starts talking to the community and saying how much he loved Fenn, and he put out the article in Medium, and Fenn loved me, and I love Fenn, and we're a happy family, and all that was all after the fact. We never heard Fenn say any of that. What's my point? My point is, if Jack Stoof did hack Fenn, and this is pure conjecture, this is an opinion, it's a speculation. I have nothing to prove this happened. I have this very provocative and mysterious text message I got from my advisor, my legal friend, now kind of a financial advisor also. But anyway, he sent me a text message, and he made it clear he had no problem with me advertising it or publishing what he said. But he did make, I said to him, do you have a source on this? Can you go back to where you found this and source it? And he wrote back, he said no. It's just something I've come up with. So I want to make it very clear from a legal standpoint and all that, this is not anything said with proof. It is a rumor that my advisor claims he's heard or saw somewhere. And he just thought it was so interesting that I'd want to know about it. And I certainly find it extremely interesting. It explains a lot. And this is what he texted me. Now, parts of this I'm going to read verbatim, and parts of it I'm just going to paraphrase. He said, I figured out just why Jack kept searching the same area every single time. Remember, Jack Stoof is made aware of the treasure hunt, the Fenn treasure hunt, in early 2018. By the end of 2018, Stoof says he has determined the area where the blaze is at. We're being told it's somewhere in Wyoming. That's what supposedly Fenn and Stoof agreed to tell the searcher community. So Jack becomes aware in his mind of where the blaze was, and he claims for the next 2 years up until he found it, 2019 and 2020, on 25 separate occasions, he went out in the area where he thought the blaze was, and he looked for the treasure. And it took him 25 times to find the treasure, he said, because ultimately he discovered the blaze was damaged, broken, modified. Something about this blaze, this physical feature, had changed over time. And so what he was looking for originally on those 25 trips was not what it turned out to look like, because it had been damaged. And then when he figured that out, he was able to hone down the place, find it. Just a second. Oh, Tober, God, I thought I heard you out there. Well, buddy, can you please just not knock over the camera and leave me kind of alone here to do my video, can you? You're coming up, aren't you? Of course you're coming up. When do you never not come up? I'm sitting here with bated breath, waiting for all hell to break loose. Okay, good boy. Why don't you go lay down somewhere? All right, so I'm going to read. You don't smell bad, but you smell a little. Well, anyway. Okay, this is the text message I got from my advisor. Just I guess a couple of weeks ago. I said I talked about this video, and I had to actually, I had a little project I made for myself where I used my editing, I edited some videos for my condominium complex, and so that kind of took up the time I would normally put into a video, but I'm still doing this pretty quick, I think, compared to, I think my last videos came out a week or a week and a half ago for as far as my channel goes. IIWII, IIWII Productions. IIWII, it's pronounced IIWII. This is what my advisor said, and this is quite a thing to contemplate. He said, I figured out just why Jack kept searching the same area every single time, every one of these 25 times. I discovered that Jack sent Fenn a file via email, which was actually a rat virus, which included a key logger program that allowed him to see Forrest's internet history along with anything typed on his keyboard. What's a rat virus? RAT stands for Remote Access Trojan. What's a Trojan? For those of you that aren't into IT, computer stuff, it's like the famous Trojan horse, right? The story of the Trojan horse. It's something that's allowed, in this case, into your computer without your knowledge. It's very, very often done with a, let me just read a little bit about it if I got something here. Oh, that's not it. It's very commonly piggybacked onto emails. Let's see, a RAT is a type of malware that's very similar to legitimate remote access programs. You know, the kind where if you work in a building where you have an IT guy and he says, let me get on your computer, and he gets on your computer and he can actually work your computer from his remote location. Well, this is a virus that allows someone to do that without your knowledge. They don't necessarily want to get on there and work in front of you, or you'd obviously know they're on your computer, but if they can get on there and watch what you're doing or have some type of log that's keeping track of what you're doing, pretty good for figuring out things that you're up to when you use your computer. Like most malware, rats piggyback on legitimate looking files. Hackers can attach a rat to a document in an email or within a large software package like a video game. Advertisements, nefarious web pages can also contain rats, but most browsers prevent automatic downloads from websites or notify you when a site is unsafe. I think it's pretty likely that if Fenn was hacked by someone using a rat, that they probably did just put it in an email as an attachment, maybe a photo. That seems to be what people love to send Fenn, were photos. This is where I've been looking. This is what I'm up to. Take a look. And Fenn, God bless him, probably not being that savvy for that kind of an attack. I think, from what I understand now, opened countless things that people sent him in emails. Never was the wiser. But Eric, you can't prove this. I know. I'm not saying I can prove it. I'm saying this is speculation. This is a rumor. This is a rumor that someone has told me about. The extent to whether it's true, I can't prove. I'm making that very clear. It's just something to think about, and it kind of just fits, to me, the things that went on about the time that Fenn announced the find. He didn't come out and embrace Jack Stoof openly. Seemed to kind of keep him at a distance. Said, well, I've agreed with him on this and agreed with that. But we know about the article by his family that didn't congratulate Jack. And we know that Fenn came out, congratulated the search community, did not congratulate Jack. And everything was supposed to be so hush-hush about Jack. And we weren't ever supposed to know anything about Jack. And everybody was attacking Fenn, saying it was a fraud and it was a hoax. And we didn't hear a thing from Jack. Nobody came out to defend Fenn and say, oh no, I'm the guy, I found it. Remember, we know all that. We know all that. It just makes a lot of sense to me that if Jack Stoof did in fact hack Fenn with a virus that allowed him to have access to a computer, that a lot of it just makes sense to me, kind of the dynamic of what happened around that time. And then, of course, it was almost like Jack rehabilitated the whole story and turned it around to, oh, Fenn and I were great friends, and he wanted me to come out and live with him in Santa Fe, and, you know, we just got along wonderful, and he was just like a, you know, this wonderful man, and he just means everything to me. And there's another question, still hasn't sold the treasure. Jack still hasn't sold the treasure. I find that so interesting as time goes by. People have said, well, you know, Eric, he won an award or a reward. I guess someone had said if they could prove that they found the treasure, they'd give him $10,000. I guess he got $10,000. He apparently moved into a better place that had better security. Maybe, you know, I don't know even what that means. Maybe a place with a gate, you know, or if he's moved into a nice enough community, you know, so sometimes we'll have their own security people, you know, and guards at the gate and all that. Did Jack hack Fenn? Did Jack hack Fenn? So this is what this text message further says. I discovered that Jack sent Fenn a file via email, which was actually a rat virus. Explain that. It included a key logger program, allowed Jack to see Forrest's internet history, along with anything typed on his keyboard. Forrest had 2 things saved on his desktop. First one was Caldera Rim Toilet. First one was Caldera Rim Toilet in Wyoming, and the second one was Secret Valley Creek. I'm going to show you a map where those 2 things aren't that far apart in Wyoming, in Yellowstone. Again, why haven't we seen the treasure sold? Why have we heard nothing about the treasure on the market? As someone said very recently online, why have we still not heard from Jack Stoof's friends, if he has any, or acquaintances or associates? This thing now is going on for just going over 6 months, right? Half a year. Yeah. So, I mean, it is kind of odd, isn't it, that no one has come out and said, I know Jack, this is the story. None of that's happened. I think that's very interesting. I mean, I brought that up very early on, but someone reminded me of that the other day, and I was like, that's right. We still haven't heard from anyone that knows Jack. Treasure's still not been on the market as far as we know. I think the one thing I had said a long time ago was, you know, I think the biggest clue that this thing is not all it appears to be, will be if no one ever comes out claiming to know Jack and claiming to have a story to tell. But people have kept secrets a lot longer than that, so I'm not going to worry about that aspect of it. I'm going to stick to the story here. So I texted back and I said, gosh, this would, to this original text to my advisor, and I said, this would kind of explain all of the kind of drama that happened up until, with Fenn not really acknowledging Jack, he acknowledged him, but he didn't really congratulate him. Didn't seem to be a lot of warmth there. And then all of a sudden Fenn dies, and, I thought, well, that was kind of amazing timing. And then, of course, the Fenn family just kind of embraces Jack, at least in the Medium article, then and puts a link to it on their webpage. And then it all gets taken down. I mean, it was just like biff, bam, boom in a row. All these things happen, and now we're left in this quagmire of Jack just kind of talks when he wants to, talks in these generalities, doesn't really tell anyone anything. I know people have contacted me, or I've seen it online, and they've said, Jack never really explains the solve. He doesn't really tell us how he solved it. That's what people have said online or told me, emailed me or whatever. They've said he doesn't really seem to have the solve down. Then, of course, Jack would say, well, I don't want to tell you the solve. I don't want anybody to find this place because Forrest wanted the place kept pristine and pure and fresh and didn't want people trampling in there, etc. Another could be true. Also a great way to explain why I'm never going to tell you where it is. So I said all that, and my advisor says definitely all would make sense. Someone would need to check Forrest's computer to see if there is a Trojan horse key logger virus. I'm almost sure that's how Jack did it. Also, why he may not want to come out with any solve clues. Now he found it out. I want to make that clear. And I asked him, I did say, please go find a source on this. Can you just tell me where? He kind of came back and said, I really can't tell you that. So it's speculation. It's just my opinion, but it sure sounds believable. The Caldera Rim. Remember, the first saved desktop place was the Caldera Rim toilet. And the second was in Wyoming, and the second one was Secret Valley Creek. Let's go on to part two. This looks like it's going to be a two-parter today.